right now. I've had a chance to meet our featured speaker about a couple months ago, and I'm excited for you to hear from Colonel Bentley. I think he not only just we had a conversation about airmen and housing and childcare, but I think I really appreciated his commitment to collaborating with our regional community to help him carry out his mission and make our area a better place at the same time. So I'm excited for what the future holds, but I want to read just a little bit of his bio. So Colonel Bentley is a University of Kentucky grad, and he has held leadership positions all over the world with the Air Force. And then prior to this assignment, he served as the Vice Wing Commander for the 100th Air Refueling Wing, the Royal Air Force Mendenhall in the United Kingdom. And then today he commands the 92nd Air Refueling Wing at Fairchild Air Force Base. Again, it's significant enough to continue to mention that it literally is the largest tanker base in the world, and we really do play a significant part in just the mission globally. And so I'm excited to have a leader like Colonel Bentley in the area, and it's a pleasure to listen to you today. So thank you, sir, for taking time to join us today. The floor is yours, sir.
Can you see me and hear me? All right. Hey, yeah, Toby, I think we had coffee a couple months ago, and I'll tell you, within the first 5 minutes, I definitely liked you, and I can definitely tell you the great things you've been doing for the community, and we wish you the best of luck in the future. I think a couple folks mentioned the 1942 donating money and the relationship established with the Fairchild Air Force Base. And I can tell you, we've been so lucky and blessed with the community here, everything they do. And I'll tell you a little story, and then my goal is to kind of highlight the strategy document we produced here that will open up some opportunities to have some specific discussions. But as we go forward, if you ever want to interrupt me and ask a specific question, please do so. I think I saw that Colonel Brian Newberry is online as well, the former Wing Commander, and it's great to see that as well. So about third week of August, Travis Air Force Base had a wildfire, and they made a decision to evacuate the base. And so they sent all their KC-10s out of Travis Air Force Base to Fairchild. And we're already the largest tanker wing in the universe, and this makes it even larger. But I'll tell you, you'll be very proud of the airmen and the team here, because the folks that evacuated, they left pretty quickly. They didn't know if their house was going to be there when they got back. They didn't know where their families were going to be. But our team received them all through the night, made sure they were taken care of. We had mental health providers out there, chaplain corps, you name it, to make sure it wasn't just protecting the asset, but also making sure that they were taken care of as well. And it's a little bit ironic. About a week later, August 27th, we had a wildfire that started off base, and then pretty quickly grew to 240 acres, and it reached our base. And I think it's the first time we had a fire on our base since probably about 2007. I was in a meeting talking about housing, and I got a note from my exec that said, "Hey, there's a fire off base," and it was within 30 minutes it was on base. And then we stood up our EOC, Emergency Operations Center, our CAT, our Crisis Action Team, and the response was amazing. Fire District 3, Airwine Heights, Lincoln, you name it, they ran to the fire. We had 235 students, because it was over at the survival school, that we had to evacuate. Again, our team worked really quickly to move them away from there, make sure they had a place to bed down, some food. But if it wasn't for the response from the local community, that building over there would have burned down. And I wish I would have had a picture I could have showed you to highlight that. But it just really stresses that relationship that we have, that mutual aid that we provide. And I'm just bringing up the fire department. We have several other venues as well, to include the sheriff's department and the police. Then after that, I don't know if everybody remembers, we had the hazardous air quality, and that impeded a lot of things during that week. But for us, it didn't impede our mission. We set alert 24/7 with 2 aircraft, and we did launch during that week, support operations, no impact. And it just shows that our airmen here, and when I say airmen, I mean our civilians too, They can do anything. They're well trained and they're always ready to answer that call, because we are such an important base, not only with our tankers, but also with the Survival School, JPRA, and then the Armed Forces Reserve Center. And it's such a special place. I think what makes it such a special place is that community relationship. It really, really supports. And so my hat's off to everyone. And I met a lot of folks, and I like to meet a lot more. I like Zoom, but I like in person much, much better. So I think it's a lot better discussion. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about our strategy that we published. And I'm a very simple person. I am from Kentucky. And so I think Colonel Newberry told me I need to start rooting for Gonzaga, but I just can't do that. I can do that as long as they don't play Kentucky. But I'll do my best to become better Eastern Washington resident. But our strategy is that we have 3 priorities. And I'll talk about each one of those. And within each priority, we have 3 lines of efforts. But I think the most important thing is after those lines of efforts is the action items. And that's one of the things I'll kind of mention as we go forward. But our first priority is airmen. And again, airmen to me it's everybody. It's the family, it's the airmen themselves, and it's our civilians. And speaking of civilians, we have a lot of folks that come to Spokane and they never want to leave. And so they retire from the Air Force and they become civilians here. And Colonel Newberry can definitely back me up. We have the best civilians I've ever seen at any base. Right now we're doing our big exercise. And so I've been up since about 5:30 this morning working that. But with the continuity we have and the expertise we have, you can definitely trust that we're ready for our #1 mission, which is supporting nuclear deterrence. And a lot of it has to do because of the civilians that we have here. But the first thing for airmen, our first line of effort is quality of life across the board. Just like the local community, we've had a lot of concerns with childcare. Our childcare wait list is quite high. It was 115, and some of those are off base or they're staying home. Some of it's due to COVID, but really a lot of it is just we just don't have enough care providers. And so we've been very aggressive in advertising and recruiting new child care providers. And we've been successful. We lowered our wait list by about 20%, and we're working with some other entities to maybe offer some child care as well. One issue we have, I think, with child care that we're going to see maybe in the future is the minimum wage rate here in Washington State. For Fairchild, they kind of, there's 2 things. One is to get a locality pay, you have to have at least 2,500 GS employees, civilian employees. And we don't have that in our area by ourselves, but if we include Coeur d'Alene, we do. But the issue with Coeur d'Alene is, the minimum wage is $7.25. And so it's half of what it is in Washington, approximately. And so we had a great opportunity to meet with Congresswoman Morris Rogers, I want to say a week or 2 ago, when we hosted the Military Family Caucus Summit. And we talked about education, we talked about moving, when military members move. We also talked a lot about child care because that is a national issue right now. And so she's going to engage on our behalf and maybe have that looked at in a different way for us. And hopefully that will work. Can you still hear me? I got a little note that my internet connection is unstable. Okay. And so that's one avenue that we're going to get after, and that's action. And so if we can improve that pay, I'm not worried about it this year, but if Washington State continues on the path to continue to increase the minimum wage, it could be a problem for us to recruit our members. And so that's one area we're working at. For COVID itself, the quality of life, I think we just so everyone knows, we are following Washington State law. We are in lockstep with the country and everything else in the county. But we are doing things to make sure that we don't have atrophy and resiliency. When we have meetings, every meeting I go to, we're wearing a mask and we're 6 feet apart. But we have to make sure we're checking on our airmen. The position I'm in, I hear every report. And I will tell you that for a while, it felt like every 3 or 4 days I was getting a note about an airman with suicide ideations. And so we are making sure we're intrusive and we're engaging on those airmen. So we're offering a lot of events for them to meet in person, but with the COVID mitigation. It's not just airmen, it's families too. I have 2 boys. They're good most of the time, not always the time, but I think they're missing out on social connection. And so we just last week we did a back to school bash, COVID mitigated, at our event center, and it was an opportunity for students to just arrive here to meet new students and maybe have that connection, at least in person, or at least they can meet someone else they can play Fortnite with that's locally. And so we're doing everything we can for families. We just hosted our Give Parents a Break a Night. It's basically when you offer deployed families and others an opportunity to go out and do something for a night, and the kids can be watched by our CDC and our youth center. And we had 50 kids there, and they said it was the most we ever had. And so we're going to continue to do that on a quarterly basis. But I am very, the chief and I are very aggressive in trying to find these opportunities for our airmen and their families. Another area we're looking at is housing. We used to have 900 some homes on this base, and then we went down to 641, and then we had a plus up until 12 aircraft, which gains about 400 families. And so we're just asking questions. It's not my decision. It's not really DOD's decision. It's Balfour Beatty. They own the housing, but asking them the question if instead of when they demolish homes to build new ones, they can keep those there. And right now we're just asking the question. That's all I can really do. Also, talking to Mr. Johnson, who I'm sure most people know, and some other folks here. We really, really appreciate the community, the things they've been doing, building new apartments and some new homes for our airmen. We want to make sure that the best that we can for affordable home. It's great when the local community gets growth with the Amazon, and I think there's another distribution center coming here, but it does, make it harder for our airmen to afford those when you're competing against higher wages. And so we'll continue to work that. And I know it's not a new issue, but it's something that we're definitely going to continue to work on. The other thing is, I mentioned suicide ideation before, but we're also we're asking the question if we can get some more support here, either with mental health providers or with the we have a thing called military family health counselors. They were working off base. They were teleworking. We made a decision to bring them back on base and put them in high-risk squadrons. And for us, it was typically our security forces and our maintenance. And so being there, being present, because you never know when an airman's going to walk by and just wants to talk to somebody. And it's all about prevention. It's usually relationship, or it's usually stress, or they get in trouble. And we just want to make sure that we're there for them. Whether they serve in the Air Force or not, they have a long life ahead of them. We want to make sure they make the right decisions going forward. Another thing we did is we got this training. It's called ASSIST. It's Applied Suicide Intervention Skill Sets. And we got all of our first shirts. They're the ones that get the call at 2 in the morning when something happens. And commanders usually get a call out 2 or 3 hours later. We got them trained of how to talk and how to discuss if someone's having suicide ideation to give them the right space. Our next iterations, we're going to train the trainer. And so we're going to get a couple folks trained, so then we can start teaching our frontline supervisors. So now we have an opportunity that everyone's a sensor, everyone knows how to communicate, and really prevent that from happening. Unfortunately for the Air Force, last year was our highest ever suicide rate. This year we're at the same point or higher. And so we got to get after it. And I think COVID is part of the unintended consequences. It's making it a lot tougher. And so again, that's why we're going to do things smartly, but we're going to do things as we go forward. Education. I hear a lot of great things about Cheney, but I haven't had a chance to talk to them or some other school districts. But I will tell you, since we have Medical Lake on our base, I talk to them quite a bit, and they are phenomenal. They've been really helpful with us. Michael Anderson on base. We talked about our child care issues. We have the same issues with our youth center. Our youth center had a 58 kids wait list. And Michael Anderson did a thing and really helped us a lot. They opened up their school to establish an internet cafe. And so a place where our kids could go, do their schoolwork, and allow our families or our airmen to go to work. We do have a mission here that we have to do, so it's finding that careful balance. We also, I love it when I walk around the halls and I see somebody's kid with them, because again, we got to do the best we can. We're a family here, we have to work through it. But there are some jobs it's impossible to do that. It's impossible to do it with maintenance, security forces, and so we just have to make sure we continue to put priorities who needs child care. Another initiative that we're looking at doing is USO. And so USO, I think most folks are probably familiar with that, but we're going to bring them on base here. We haven't had them here yet. They're at Fairchild Air Force Base, and so we have a good connection there. They came out here not too long ago and passed out pizzas to all the airmen in the dorms. And those small things do make a big difference going forward. The other things for quality of life, is we want airmen to help themselves as well. And so we're getting them to establish clubs. One of the clubs that we did this past weekend, or 2 weekends ago, was a car show. And this was an A1C, so brand new airman. The question was, hey, it's a private order, can you do it? But of course he can do it. We're gonna let him do it. And so he did it in a week. We had 35 cars out there, and probably about 100 folks out there. And it was an airman meeting airmen and connecting. Now there might be some other folks that have other hobbies, and we want to find a way to connect them. I have airmen that I talk to, and they live in a dorm, and they have a neighbor, and they'll say they never met their neighbor. And I don't know if that's just the society that we live in now, or it's also COVID. But I want you to know that we are definitely doing everything we can to increase that connection between our airmen and families. And I spend a lot of time on that, but that's something I'm passionate about. And so just want to share that. Other things we're doing within the airmen priority is making sure that we are training them at the highest level. This week, our exercise, we could have done a lot less than what we're doing, but we're doing the full gamut. We're doing everything. We've had a little bit of atrophy of mission because of COVID and some of the restrictions we had. And so we're doing a little bit more, but I'll tell you, it's one of the things we have is a brief we usually do in person is a classified brief, but our comm team here found a way to do it via remote. And so we're being creative. We're making sure we have COVID mitigation because we are operating this contested environment. But our team is figuring out there's some areas of rust, but we're going to continue to do this. We have another big exercise in December, and we have another exercise in April, which is what we call our Super Bowl. It's our nuclear operations readiness inspection. And so that's what we're prepping for as we go forward. But it's an inspection, but we need to be ready every day. And so we're making sure that that's our focus area in getting them training. And then we're also making sure we're taking care of them with professional development. We had a guest speaker come here not too long ago, and we're going to look for more. Sometimes we pay for them, but I love it when they come for free. And so if you have anybody that wants to come to the base and has a story to share, please let me know. I know in the past we did, and I'll be okay with this, because we had Mr. Few come out here, and the coach of design came out here and gave a story. So we might look to do that in the future. Our next priority is mission. And so, we have a nuclear deterrence mission. We also have a conventional response. A lot of things we're talking about right now is great power competition with our peers. And so we are definitely focusing on the nuclear deterrence, making sure we're ready to support that. Hopefully we never have to do that, but we always have to be ready. But we also have to be very agile in our efforts. And so our team has been doing a lot of things we call off-station trainers. And so we've been spending a lot of time in the Pacific, doing missions over there, doing cargo runs, doing aeromedical evacuations, i.e. someone gets hurt or sick and needs to get to better care. The KC-135 is not usually the primary, but we're definitely capable of doing that. So we're getting crew exposure on how to do that. We're also making sure that we get training receivers that we don't typically get. And so just last week went down to Tennessee, and we refueled the C-130 Special Ops out of Florida. And so we got a great team to continue to look at those opportunities and how we can get better at our job and making sure we're training the best we can. As the biggest tanker wing in the world, we have a huge responsibility. And so we are doing everything we can to standardize and ask tough questions to our command to make us better equipped, better resourced. And so I always tell folks that, my first 3 months, I was very intensive on getting all my immersions done. I got them all done on base. I wanted to get all the community ones done, but haven't quite got there yet. But because now the honeymoon's over, and so again, we got a great team here. But I'm ready to work and get after these initiatives for our airmen and also this base. And another thing we're looking at is, one of our missions, our strategic platform is not only the 135, but it's also our base. And so, as you mentioned, we were established in 1942. Our 100-year anniversary is coming up in 2042. And so I want to make sure that we are looking at long-term plans for us. We have a lot of NOCOM projects underway, and we got some more that we're advocating for as we go in the future. And the last one is culture, and I'll tell you, we're very adamant about diversity and inclusion, making sure we're making the right decisions and asking tough questions to make sure we don't have any unconscious bias. And everything we're doing is we're trying to build a team here and making sure every airman has a voice. No one suffers in silence. A lot of things are done for me, but I'm more worried about the A1C and their family, making sure they get the support they need when they arrive at this base. We had a right start. It's our newcomers orientation turned off, but we turned it back on with COVID mitigation. And I know that a lot of community entities come and brief, and I just want to thank you for that as well. It really helps us to help everybody who's trying to find a place to live or the things to do in the local community. And then another line of effort is enhance and grow team Fairchild partnerships. We're all about that. That's not only here on the base. We have a great relationship with Guard. They are a fantastic asset, and we'll continue to strengthen that. The other things that we can do with the community. So one of the things we have coming up is our honorary commanders. We're going to do a COVID mitigated event for that. And anytime I can talk to chambers or meet, anytime somebody wants to come on base and wants to see something, let me know and we'll work it out. I think it's important for us to show what we do here, and again, to show our appreciation for all the support that you do provide. We do a lot of mutual aid for fire response off base, but again, it was really awesome to see how quickly that response was and save that building. We had airplanes flying overhead, dropping water, I think off in Silver Lake, I think it was. It was pretty impressive to watch. And then the last one is empowerment and innovation. I kind of talked a little bit about the car show. We have a lot of talented airmen here. We just got to let them do stuff. If we trust them to make a difference, they will. And a lot of times for me, it's just getting a good seat to watch everything. And so that's kind of the highlights I wanted to talk about. Could talk a lot more. Very, very proud of the space. Very, very proud of our airmen, and really, really appreciative of the relationship we have with the community. But over to you, Toby, for questions or anything.
Sir, thank you so much for that. And I think, I just wrote down a couple comments just just a couple of your thoughts where it's like, you got to continue to be creative. I think Mr. Preston even mentioned this, especially you don't have to be limited by your own circumstances. And so that's key. And then I would just always applaud when you have to ask tough questions. It means you don't know everything, which I think is such a great leadership quality. And so I just want to open it up to the chat. If you've got any questions that you would love to ask Colonel Bentley, feel free to go ahead and put it in the chat, and then we'll kind of go from here. But while we're waiting, Colonel Bentley, I'll just give this to you. I think one of the things that I always respect about people in your positions or in this position, you go through so much training and you have such a big responsibility. So many of us in this room are leaders of organizations or nonprofits. What would be the one thing that you would love to share from a leadership perspective to help us be better in our own communities, in our own teams, in our own businesses that you've kind of learned along the way?
That's a good question. First, I got to tell you while I was chuckling, I just read Preston's note. I like your haircut too. I think for us, it's a balance, right? But for us, it's, I always equate it to the airplane. Eventually, we got to take off. And so I think sometimes I see folks that don't necessarily want to make a decision, or they talk about it for too long. And so I think sometimes you got to go with the 80% and make a decision and move out. It's okay if you kind of readjust as you get more information, but that's why I'm saying, like, the team here are very action oriented. We want to get stuff done. And I always put things in two bins. One is things I can control, And so, like the other day, they brought up this idea about, hey, do we need to have a hat salute area at the Child Development Center? Parents pick their kids up in a car, put them in the building. We didn't really make that a salute area. And that's such an easy thing to do, right? It's like, yeah, I'll sign a letter and say we don't have to do that. And so the things I can control, and there's a lot more of those. That's a real easy one. I'm ready to sign them. I'm ready to move out on them and do those. And the other bin is things we don't control, but we can influence. And we're going to do that respectfully. But I got a lot of questions I want to ask our headquarters. Things that we think, and we don't have the full picture, but maybe some things we think we can do better. We're learning a lot in our exercises that, maybe, we got opportunities to change a little bit. And so we're going to bring that up as well. And then also, money and resources are a constraint. But we want to make sure at least, and one of the reasons why we're doing our 2042 plan, at least to show what our ideal would be in a perfect world. And so I think you got to make decisions. Make sure that you spend time on things that you can control. Make a decision, move out, and then things that you can influence. Make sure you definitely spend the time, and don't be emotional, but make sure you spend the time and get fact-based your perspectives.
That's great. Thank you, sir. I saw a couple questions. So one, I know this is something that our chamber has on our top priority, and we've had great conversations with AMC about housing, and maybe in your words, what is something that we can do as a chamber and as a region, as a community, to help your airmen with housing? You mentioned you got 400 new families that have come in the last year and a half, and there's no more houses on base. So they're living in our community. What is something that we can do from here on out to assist you in that?
So I think it's just continue to do some things you're already doing. I think our housing office has a great relationship with the community to know when these apartment buildings and some other things are available, and so to help share that knowledge, and then continue to build homes that are affordable. But I know it's a business case analysis and everything else. And I read one of the chats about the housing allowance. So we are asking to relook at that to see if and these are sometimes take a long time to change. Some it's on the member to make sure they fill out the surveys correctly. But this is an expensive area, so we want to figure out if we can get a relook, and then making sure that we're isolating it to where our airmen actually live. There are certain neighborhoods that we may not have our airmen live in that are cheaper average cost. It drops down the whole BAA, basically housing allowance. And so we'll continue to do that. I think communication is the key. We just got to continue to reach out to you, and you share with us on new developments where things are available. But it's a great community. So I really appreciate everything they do. They talk about the homes that were built in Cheney and the ones that just off of Rainbow Road. And so I think our airmen are definitely looking at those. I really appreciate the effort. I just think it's going to continue to get tough. These new businesses come to Spokane because it's such an awesome place to live. I might become the next Brian Newberry. You never know. It is I've never been to a place that the relationship with the community is so great, the outdoor options are so great, and the mission is so awesome. And so that's why we get Jeff Johnson and folks like that to stay here forever.
Well, we appreciate that a lot. Again, if anybody has any other questions, but I saw a couple things in there, sir. As an Eastern Washington, we got to pronounce it Gonzaga. So just to give you a heads up. And then, you don't have to cheer on the Wildcats when Gonzaga plays. You could cheer on Gonzaga. It's totally fine. We'll let you. You could be our honorary fan. And then I did see that Global Credit Union, Tanya over there, the branch manager, she said she can deliver pizzas like nobody's business. So if you need that done, they can help you out over there.
We'll do that. Hey, Global Credit Union, yeah, they're a great partner. We did a couple things with them as well. They helped us recently. We're collecting some supplies for Molten with the fire. And so, again, great relationship with them as well. Hey, one thing we're trying to do here, and I don't know if anybody has any ideas, but we have some space here. And one thing I'm looking at is, we're trying to find things for our airmen to do. And I don't know if this is possible or not, but Top Golf is one item that we wouldn't mind starting. one thing we're going to ask the question, and I'm still new on this, but is to figure out if maybe an outside agency wanted to build something like that on base. Because we do have that one partnership with the P4, the small arms range. And so there might be more opportunities too with resiliency measures for the local community. So that's something we're going to pursue as well.
Yeah, I think we will definitely send that over to our end and see if there's anything that we can do. We'd love to get you your airmen out in the community and give them something to do. And if there's any way to partner like we did on that small arms range, that Mr. Johnson has done a lot of great work on that in the county. So for those on the call that might not be aware, there is a very unique and creative partnership between the county, the sheriff's office, and the Air Force to create a small arms range off base that we're kind of partnering on to use. So just a great collaborative way that I love that we see it in so many different sectors, and that the military and the private side and even our public off base are working together. And so it's exciting to kind of see.
Yeah, I think
so. Right now,
I was going to say that started in 2012, and so the team's been persistent in moving that out. Looks like right now, hopefully it'll be ready to go October 2022. And so I think having that continuity and relationship gets that stuff across the line.
Well, right now, sir, I don't see any more questions, but I see a lot of people that are just expressing their thanks for you taking the time to share with our group today. Again, we appreciate you, and continue to let us know if there's anything that we could do to come alongside your airmen. Thank you, sir. Definitely. And we definitely, go ahead, sir.
I was just saying thank you too. And if anybody needs anything from me, just email me and let me know. And really appreciate all the support that they provide. I read the note about what Christy Hamby wrote. And, we're neighbors. And so it's great to see that. Thanks again.
Well, and thank you for everybody for joining our call today. We definitely appreciate you taking the time to listen and be an active part in our community. And so we want to thank Mr. Preston from Integris Architecture. Thank you for sponsoring this call today, and Miss Mary over there at Global Credit Union. Great partners in the community, and we thank you for that. We do have a couple things coming up. I do want to make sure that people know that we have our Best of the West coming up on November 6th. Register. I love that Eric made a comment that we're a chamber that loves to celebrate. And we've got, even in the midst of COVID, I think there's been a lot of people and individuals and companies that have stepped up, not only to just help themselves, but help those around them, that we get a chance to celebrate. And just kind of collectively, I love the line that says a rising tide lifts all boats. And I think we've seen a lot of that this year, and we get to celebrate it. And so join us on November 6th. And again, just on behalf of me and my family, I've appreciated my time, and I thank you again for just the opportunity to be able to serve you. So have a wonderful day, and until next time.